Misa think the user will be get a cease and desist from Misa Mouse Overlord. The opinions shared on this podcast does not represent the stance of the host's employers, past, present, nor future. And now, please enjoy the podcast. Sad.
You are listening to the Geeks and Gripes Podcast with Dex, Rich, and Mike. And now, let's get our show started.
Hello world, welcome to the always socially distanced podcast that has been out there, the Geeks and Gripes Podcast.
Keep away! They're unclean!
I noticed that we never introduce ourselves, so I'm Mike, and I'm here with Dex and Rich. I should do this now on all the podcasts. I'm learning as I go.
What's up, people?
This is Rich.
So, as we always do, you can follow us on social media on @GeeksAndGripes and Twitter and everywhere else, like Instagram, Facebook, etc. We are on the Ask Geeks and Gripes, so whatever site you are, /Geeks and Gripes, that includes Patreon. We need your money.
Shameless plug.
So this is our 8th episode, and on this 8th episode, we are going to have a very interesting topic, which will be discussed soon. But first, let's do some announcements. So, as we previously stated, somebody's been twitching their Final Fantasy IX experience.
Yay! I had to do what I hadn't done in forever, grind. Oh, joy.
Unfortunately, I cannot share my Final Fantasy VII Remake experience because all you would hear is me throwing controllers at the wall. So I would rather not do that.
It would make for interesting viewing.
The angry video game nerd would act, or somebody, the other guy that's always screaming at his microphone while playing Crash Bandicoot, they would sue me for copyright infringement. So for the 8th episode, oh wait, one more announcement actually, sorry, my apologies. It appears that our sidecast idea finally went to fruition, and we have our first sidecast with Dex and Ari.
Heck yeah. Like, Ari dives into the deep well of manga, where none of us, being just male geeks, usually would go, and that would be the alternate genres of anime and manga. Mostly Yuri, which is girl, yaoi, guy, shonen ai, and a few other things. It was a very, very informative episode, because like her knowledge of the stuff is amazing. And if anybody's looking to get into any of those, or if you're already a fan of yaoi and yuri and you're looking for, a couple of suggestions, she's got them, and we'll be also posting up her top 10 list. She gave it to me, and now that the episode's actually out, we can do the top 10 recommendations that she has.
So for everybody's information, this is exactly what the type of bonus content we will develop eventually for Patreons. Obviously, we don't have Patreons at this time, so enjoy them while you're still free, I guess.
Yeah, the Twitch live streams, and who knows, maybe we'll think of something else. Toss ideas around.
Yep. So head over to Twitch, or I believe it's in YouTube as well if you want to take a gander of the live stream. I do want to warn everybody that this is highly unedited.
Yeah. Unlike here, the sidecast is more of what would be premium content, so a couple of words may have slipped out here and there and everywhere.
All right, so head on over there, and hopefully you enjoy and continue to support us. We thank you for anybody who's listening in this medium. We're thankful for anybody who listens to us in any other medium where we keep publishing. So thank you. So to get started for this episode, we have decided to come up with what we believe is our top 10 games list on our life, I guess. And this will include top 10 games for us, top franchises, and some honorable mentions as well. Maybe during the content, we'll also sneak in games that we wish we would have played now that we hear others talking so beautifully, a new word, beautifully about it.
So
I have the best words. Dude,
That's where my brain was going.
I was literally thinking it. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yep, I agree.
So basically, games, video games for geeks, old school, new school, young, old, like they are a staple of being geeks. And as we've grown up, like we're old school, you'll notice our ages when you hear some of the games we have on the list.
Yeah.
There are just those games that change the way you look at a medium, change the way you look at a genre of gaming, or just stick with you for whatever reason, story, gameplay, how much fun you had, and basically that's kind of what we were thinking of when we wanted to go through the obligatory top 10 episode.
I could just put an echo, right?
Yeah, but
You
it's
can
not
put an
fun
echo
for me.
on the echo. We can have an echo inception there.
Ooh, echoception. I like that.
Just make sure don't let Audacity crash while we're recording on it. Oh, kudos to Audacity, by the way. We love your software.
Yep.
Yes, we do.
So before we actually get started on the list, let's actually discuss how we came up with our list. So what were your criteria for coming up with a list? In my case, I may not necessarily have chosen the top 10 games of all time, but I feel that some games were so darn good that I still put them on the list just to honor the hard work and the content of that particular game, even if it was not.
You just made the list.
You just made the list! Copyright.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of the same. For me, like, these aren't like the top 10 games of all time, like dutifully analyzed and like researched and all that. No, these are just games that I will never forget. These are games that I enjoyed for whatever reason, or that they got me into a genre, or games that I can just revisit anytime for any reason and just play. And also games that kind of shaped my taste for games as, I continue through this journey we call life.
Yeah. I had a very extensive list. I've been playing video games for way too long, and the list kind of proved that. But for me, I selected everything that changed my way of thinking. It's more than just stages in my life. I can just mention almost every Mario game and how much it influenced me. But the list, the top 10 on the list are games that I played over and over again. I finished in multiple different ways. I've seen things that normal people won't find them because it's very completionist. And some of the franchises, I've played like many of their games, but I have like my favorite of each of them. So it's more like influential for me. So it would be like a best game of all time, completely biased on my opinion. So that's where I was going with this.
So with that, one of the rules we agreed on is that we will only have one game of a particular franchise. We will touch upon the other games of the franchise. We'll explain a little bit why we chose the ones we chose. But yeah, we kind of limited to just one game per franchise, because otherwise, the list would be a top 50.
Yep.
Well, I have to modify mine because I noticed that I accidentally have two of. But I'll make it up as I go. Don't worry about it.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so before we actually get to the list, some honorable mentions. Let's do about, 3 or 4 of them. What games were almost on the list but didn't quite make it?
Yeah, I can go first. So as I mentioned, I could have like almost every Mario game. Super Mario 3 was amazing. Mario World, 64, like all of them were I played extensively. I think they opened a new era of gaming every time they came out. But they didn't make my cut. Also, I could say the same thing about the Fire Emblems, the Advance Wars, the XCOM. They were all like amazing games. I played most of the franchises, and but I didn't put any of them in my top 10. And but my like the game I really want to mention, because I don't think I can compare it because it has no actual gameplay. It's pure PvP, but I've put way too many hours on it, yeah, an unhealthy amount of hours on it. It's League of Legends.
Okay.
I didn't want to place it anywhere because I played it for years and years and years. It has no story. It's just PvP and a lot of people hating each other. But I
Yeah,
found it really,
bro,
really fun.
bro, that community is toxic.
I know.
I'm talking like Fukushima toxic. Like after the
Yep.
meltdown. Like no man. No. Like I played it for a little bit, but holy snikes.
I played years. Like that game, I dumped a bunch of money through like 7 years of playing it, whatever. Like, but I don't play it anymore. But I've played it way too much that I had to be mentioned. I just think it opened the world of esports to a broader audience. It expanded how we look at esports, the pricing, how to treat the gamers. I think it did a lot for the community, so that would be my highest honorable mention that didn't make my top 10.
Okay. For me, there are a couple. I was a PlayStation child for a good long time after the Super Nintendo. And there I played quite a lot of good games. They didn't make the list just because I was trying to limit it to like maybe one or two platformers. Otherwise, the list would be mostly platformers and RPGs. But one of them would be the Jack and Daxter series. I love those games. I love the humor. They like the story is actually a good progressive story. Like it goes if it's continual. There's elements of everything, time travel, like what ifs, all that good stuff. Also Infamous. I don't know if anybody ever played that one. Infamous is a game where you could actually choose what path you would take, either being good or being bad. Like it's a standard story, an accident happens and suddenly like people have superpowers and your superpower is electric, it's electricity, and you can actually decide how you take the story. Your choices, your decisions change the ending that you'll get and how the game ends and progresses. So I really
I
like the
feel there.
Infamous.
I feel there was a time where that was really in. Like you had Fable, Knights of the Old Republic, and
Yeah,
like there was this time where they got really hot. Those kind of games where you could
yep.
be good or bad.
And then I would say probably one of the other series that like I've played, I liked, but didn't quite make the list. It's also part of that whole platform PlayStation kind of era. That would be Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank had some really messed up humor, and I loved it. The guns, like the characters, they were just twisted. But the style, the collectathon, the upgradable weapons, like oh god, I love that. That just I just couldn't get enough of that. But didn't quite make the list.
I
How
mean,
about you, Mike?
well, from my side, there's gonna be a lot of Final Fantasy games. Being a person that has played all Zelda games, and I mean all real Zelda games. I'm not going to
What?
mention the fake news games.
What? Oh, come on. Are you telling me you didn't play the masterpieces that were the 3DO games?
CDI. But yes.
CDI, oh yeah.
Yeah, no. Those are not Zelda games.
let's not even open that door, because for me, Breath of the Wild is not a Zelda. So let's not even go there.
There's going to be a lot of Mario games as well for me. I believe, in my opinion, Super Mario World and 64 were kind of the biggest era starters of their
definitely
of their time. And Fire Emblem, truthfully, I've only played the ones that came out for the Wii, but I would put them on honorable mentions because they're really good, and I'm not into that genre at all. So kudos to them.
Yep.
Oh, that reminds me of another game, Breath of Fire.
Yes. Oh my God, they were so good.
I love.
Glorious. Yes.
Except the PlayStation one, not the first one, the last one for PlayStation 2, I think it was, where it was like steampunk kind of. That game was hot. Yeah, that game was hot garbage. But all the other ones, I love those games. I really.
Breath of Fire 1 and 2 were amazing.
Yeah, like I really wish they brought them back, but I know they would mess them up. So.
Yep.
I think they're best left where they are in my fond memories.
From the Dragon Quest games, 3 and 8, because I am only going to put one Dragon Quest on the top 10. And someone that's not been mentioned, I think it's a completely different franchise, would be the Paper Mario games.
See, when it comes to Paper Mario, I'm still salty because I played Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I know that it's technically the successor, but I'm still salty.
No, Super Mario RPG was priceless. It's like a masterpiece.
It was great.
Yeah.
Okay. That's out of the way. Shall we go to the list?
Sure.
Yeah.
I had to modify it on the fly, but I'm good now.
Number 10.
10!
Oh God, I'm gonna have to edit out.
Yes.
I think 10 is gonna be like the really obscure mentions that probably like nobody else has played. So I'm really excited for mine.
Oh,
so
go for it.
You guys
go
can
for
go.
it.
Okay, I can go first. Okay.
Go ahead,
bro.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. So my number 10 is Illusion of Gaia. I don't know if you guys played it. It is an amazing game, Super Nintendo era. It's themed around this. You start looking at old ruins from different civilizations and start seeing this signs that they were trying to warn us about, and you start discovering that you have some powers, and you like eventually become this like being of light and have to save the world. But the exploring of like, you went to like all of these like really old civilizations, and you went through all of like these really famous ruins, and you learn a lot about the world, but it opens your mind to like, whoa, what, a lot of like these little details were actually true. What if, like aliens actually like work with the Aztecs and build something, and nobody really like believed that could have been possible. But the game was amazing. It opened my mind to combining ancient civilizations with like the future and space travel. It was like an amazing game.
Okay, I think I actually played. Well, maybe not played it, but I think I rented it once. But it's back in the day where you could rent games for like a weekend. Not enough time to actually say I played it.
So for the kids that are younger these days, there was a concept that you would have to visit a store and rent a game.
Blockbuster.
And the trick was always renting it on the weekend so you get an extra day. At least for the local renters.
Back in the day. Day. So, okay. Mike, what about yours?
Okay, so my number 10, everybody's going to disagree with it, but unfortunately, based on the impact that it had in my life, I have to put it there. And that would be Rose Online.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh God, I like that game. I really like. It's one of the few MMOs that I didn't want to break my computer from. Because I've played a few. Game. I've played a few.
I understand it was extremely repetitive and etc. But as Rich once said on a previous episode, the first genre of a game you play tends to be the one you like the most, and that happened to be my first and currently only MMO.
Yeah, I remember hearing you speak about the game. You love that game. Like, it
Yeah,
totally
that
deserves a spot in this list for you.
Because
that game was fun.
I deleted from my memory banks when I actually played Final Fantasy XIV before they fixed it. So
Oh yeah, before it became A Realm Reborn.
since it was deleted in my brain, it never happened. So yes, Rose has been my only MMO.
Yeah.
Okay,
So let me go through the game a bit because I bet nobody has on a list, so we're not going to dwell on it too much. Rose originally was meant to be a game, an MMO, where some guy took over one of the planets and he wanted to take hold of the other 6, and you were being created by a goddess meant to fight back against that being's takeover. Unfortunately, the game never happened, never finished in its entirety. We only got at most 4 planets before it finally shut down last year, I believe. So it just turned into this redundant social project, basically, where people just had their way to escape and broke the economy, and the wage gap kept increasing, and it kind of looked more and more like our world eventually.
It could have been a mirror into the future, a window into the future.
So
There's
that's
studies of how economy on like these massive online games actually can be studied and analyzed for like real like life uses. Like I know the auction house in World of Warcraft has been used for many studies.
Oh, dude! Not only the auction house, like the Center for Disease Control used an online, like the World of Warcraft. There was a plague. One of the bosses had a plague, and then if you were a hunter, it would infect your pet, but it wouldn't technically kill it. So it was hilarious because people would literally go to the raid boss, have their pet infected, then like leave and go into the major populated centers of all the races and just infect everybody.
That was amazing.
Just infect everybody.
Did the pet happen to be a bat or a pangolin by any chance?
No,
Could be anything.
It was
yeah.
if you were from the horde, it was probably a boar. That was like, or maybe a raptor at that level.
All right,
That was awesome.
all right. So Dex, what is your number 10?
Oh, you simple children. You come with games that are recognized. I bring you a game that I'm 99% sure nobody knows. It was for the Super Nintendo, and it was called Uniracers.
Oh wow, Uniracers.
I played that game,
yeah.
man.
I played Uniracers.
There you go.
Man.
You are my people then.
Man, you just button mashed every time you did a flip, and you got cool, blah, headless, whatever, blah, blah.
Yep. Oh god, the memories. So that game was just so weird, and I played the heck out of it. Like I got all the gold medals. I raced against the Phantom Uniracer. It's literally as it sounds. It is racing unicycles, and you race them on these like topsy-turvy tracks, and to get a speed boost you would have to do like tricks. Think of like Tony Hawk, like skateboarding for PlayStation 1, but on Super Nintendo, and you would mash all the buttons. I learned almost every trick for that game just so I could beat every single racetrack. I still remember.
And it was without riders, right?
Right.
There were no riders on the unicycle. It was just the unicycle.
Yeah, it was literally just the unicycle. The unicycles would have like different colors to show their quote unquote personalities, and yeah, it was just a great game, a weird game, and it sticks in my head to this day. So that's why it's my
awesome.
number 10.
You know, that remind me, I should have mentioned that one of my honorable mentions would have been Donkey Kong Country, so I forgot. So Donkey Kong Country was there too.
Yeah. That also marked the beginning of an era.
Yeah.
Like the Donkey Kong Countries were amazing games back in the day.
All right, so we're now heading to number 9.
I think you guys are gonna be so surprised with my number 9 because you guys may have them higher. Like for me, and this is one of my franchise picks, I would put Pokemon on my 9.
Ooh,
I
okay.
would do like I had red and I had gold. I would put those two as my favorite. Red being like old school, like the first Pokemon ever. I remember when I got it back in the day. I put all the like millions of hours on it. I've played many of the games in the franchise. I still play the like Sword and Shield nowadays. But the other ones higher on the list, I just played like I have fonder memories about. Like they're just like closer to my heart. But yeah, Pokemon had to be in my top 10.
Yeah,
So
believe it or not, I don't have Pokemon in my top 10.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
So for my number 9, I picked Guilty Gear X2.
Oh my god, I remember playing that. That was awesome.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not really a fighting game kind of person. Like even like, but growing up, we all played Mortal Kombat, we all played Street Fighter, but like I never got really really into it. Like learning all the combos, learning like I would just play the basics. Even Tekken, when it came out, like Tekken 3, I learned some stuff, but I didn't get like really deep into it like a lot of people did. But for Guilty Gear, oh my god, like I learned multiple combos for multiple characters. I learned everything I could. I could do combos, air juggles, everything off the top of my head with certain characters. And I remember playing the heck out of those games with my cousin and two other friends of mine, and it's just the fighting game that stick this it's the fighting game that I like. I will give it a try regardless the iteration. Like I don't
Yeah.
care much about like Mortal Kombat now. I don't care much about like other fighting games, but this one, like there's a new one coming out and I really need it. I need it like
There is
into my
really wow.
yeah. Oh yeah, like they changed the style. Like they did like a revamp of the style and everything, and they simplified a few other things. It looks like the old school stuff that I like, so I may just touch back into it because it looks amazing.
So I don't like fighting games. That fighting game was amazing, and you actually reminded me of one that would have been an honorable mention for me. It was in Dreamcast. It was called Psychic Force 2040. That game was amazing. You used like people who had like psychic powers, and you would fly around like a square like ring that they prepared to protect the city. That was an amazing fighting game. And I don't like fighting games, but Guilty Gear and this one, they were like on a league on their own. Very different. Yeah.
What about you, Mike? What's your number 9?
So my number 9, I don't even know what type of genre this would fall under. Honestly, because there's I don't know, but my number 9 is a Super Nintendo game. I always keep going back to it every now and so because I just loved it, and it's Act Racer.
Oh, Act Racer. I
Uh,
remember that game.
for those that
I,
haven't played Act Racer,
Faintly.
you basically are a god, and you're basically trying to kind of start maybe it is like a civilization game, but not where they go to war. It's more like you are their god, you're their deity, and you help them get rid of demons, and you have control this little angel that has to. He's like your mediator between them and you, and sometimes you had to literally destroy their entire population so they would learn how to counter that natural disaster so they could be more prepared. It was the only thing I didn't like about Act Racer was actually the platformer side of it, but the civilization concept, like I loved it, and I always go back to that game many times.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like there's a few like Civ building games that I really liked. Like Civ 5, I poured way too much time into that. Damn Gandhi, nuclear fanatic.
Did you guys play Black and White in PC?
I never got a chance to play it. I've
So
heard of
Black
it, but
and
I've
White
never played
what's like that? Like you were a god. Like the game starts like there's this family at the beach. The little kid like swims to out and is drowning, and they start asking for somebody to help them, and boop, your hand appears in the air, and you become their god, and then you like teach them how to like farm and how to deal with different like catastrophes. And there's like you create an avatar. It's really similar, but it was for PC. Reminds me of that when Mike was describing Arc Racer.
Nice. Okay, so number 8. My number 8 is I don't know if any of you have played it, but probably did because they came up with a few of them, and that would be Twisted Metal.
Oh wow, yeah, I remember Twisted Metal.
Yeah, like I was thinking a lot about like racing games, and you know I played the heck out of Crash Team Racing back in the day, Super Mario Kart on Super Nintendo, Super Mario Kart 64, F-Zero, but when it comes to racing games, like I liked it, but I also liked the combat element of it, and then came Twisted Metal. It's like, hey, this is the game. And
Twisted Metal wasn't racing, right? It was more like Demolition Derby kind of thing.
It's destroy everything. The thing that brought me to these games was the story. Every single character had a story. The premise of Twisted Metal is there's this like god/demon called Calypso, and he holds the Twisted Metal tournament every single year. And if you win, you get a wish. And he will grant your wish however you ask for it. And therein lies the fun part. He is not a benevolent person. If you ask for a wish, he will mess it up, because in the end, all he wanted was the chaos. All he wanted was the souls that you would get by running people over and killing other people. But every single character was unique. They all had unique vehicles, special attacks, stories, and I would play every single iteration and get every single ending for every character, so I could get the secret character, so I could get their secret endings. My favorite of the whole franchise is my number 8 spot, and that's Twisted Metal Black, because they cranked the messed up part to like 11 in that game. Because in this one, you could say he was a god, but he could have just been a guy, a sick, twisted guy with a lot of money, and all the characters were in mental asylums.
Oh wow!
And he would free them to do the game. So that's my number 8, Twisted Metal Black.
That's awesome. I'll go next. So like my number 8 is the Starcraft franchise.
Oh, okay.
I played way too much Starcraft. I played Starcraft, Brood War, Starcraft 2, all the expansions. The story is amazing. I have and hold all of their characters really close to heart. Jim Raynor, and you know, go into the depths of hell to rescue his like girl, and then she just giving it all up. The story is just amazing. Like you just feel it all the way from like the beginning till the end. So I have StarCraft really high on my list for me.
I never played it, but I've played other RTSs, like the Age of Empires, Age of Mythologies games, and I really like it. But Star Trek, like I would see these videos of these Korean players, and oh my god, they are on another level.
Yeah, I have actually watched esports about StarCraft. The game is just amazing. It's like if you like RTS, I don't think there's anything like StarCraft. Any of the StarCraft, like you can just play any of them and they're just amazing. So that's my number 8.
Right. So my number 8 is probably my only surprise entry. I believe Nintendo owns the franchise, if I'm not mistaken, and I unfortunately cannot split into one game because both of them are a single game. And I'm talking about the RPG series known as Golden Sun.
Ooh,
oh, wow.
Golden Sun.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Golden Sun was excellent.
Was good. Yeah.
That game had everything. It had your turn-based RPG, your summonings, your story was awesome. I think the part where they split the game in two was amazing. I think they had a perfect cliffhanger when they split the story in two. The world map was amazing. The way you traveled the world map was amazing. That game it's gold, literally. It's gold.
Yeah, it was a really good game.
So that would be my number 8, honestly.
I remember playing that one. It was one of those games that it hooked you. It hooked you real quick.
And it's surprising because it came out of nowhere. It's like Nintendo already had your Marios and your Zeldas and whatnot, and suddenly they decided, let's just go and make this new franchise. And it turned out to be amazing.
They do that, right? Like Nintendo does that every so often. Like Octopath, I never expected Octopath to come out of nowhere, and it was an amazing game. But I remember the Golden Sun years, so that was a very good pick.
So that was my number 8, and whomever has not played Golden Sun, find a way to play it. It's a 2-part game. I heard it has a sequel. I have not played the sequel. It's a 2-part game. Even if you use cheat devices, you're still gonna get murdered by certain bosses that do 9999, and that's all your health. So watch out.
Wait! Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. That's weird. I wonder why that song's playing in my head now.
Oh God.
All right, so let's move up to number 7.
Lucky 7. What's your lucky 7?
For me, I'm just like a sucker for Blizzard. I will go with the Diablo franchise. I played every Diablo. Diablo 1 was amazing. I played so much of Diablo 1. And then came Diablo 2. To me, is the best one in the series. Diablo 2, I played way unhealthy amounts of it. And Diablo 3 was good, but it didn't compare to 1 or 2.
Okay, so Diablo 2 is your pick.
Yeah,
for that one.
2 is my yep.
Nice. So what do you like
for
about
for the people who haven't played it? I don't know. It's its own type of game. It's a point and click, so you move by pointing and clicking. The story is always about the 3 lords of the underworld, like the demon lords. Diablo being the strongest about them. And you have to fight him and his 2 brothers, Baal and Mephisto, I think is the name of the 2. So it's a point and click. You get gear. The gear can have random prefix and suffix. So it could be like it would give bonus depending on how it's built. So everything is random. I think that's what really appealed to me of the first one. So you would start in this town. You would go through this door. And whatever happens past that door is random every time you go in. So none of the floors were the same. The monsters appear randomly. The first game, there were monsters that would hit you and you would lose like permanent stats. So they were like terrifying to see on a map. What really got me was like the stories for each and every monster. Like they would, the booklet was like amazing. Like, I would recommend people just reading the booklet for like the stories of each monster. Like I remember this is the one I remember the most. It was like, and it was really messed up. We're talking about the Lords of Hell, right? So there were this angels, beautiful angels that the Lords of Hell would capture, and they were really proud angels, really vain. So they would deform them, cut their wings, deform their faces, cut their eyelids, and prison them in a box of mirrors, so they had no choice but to look at their disfigurement for decades, and they got out so angry that they were demons when they were released. That's the kind of stories that the game would like have, and you know, this has been like, I don't know, 15 years, and I still remember the stories from that booklet. So it was a game that really stuck to me, and I've played all of the games in the franchise, and I really like them.
That's cool. I've only played Diablo 3 and I liked it. I was just never invested in the Diablo series, so I've heard the same thing, like Diablo 2 is the go-to.
Yeah, Diablo 1 was amazing. Back in the day, it was ahead of its time. Point and click wasn't a big thing back then. And Diablo 2 just improved on it. But for me, I played a lot of Diablo 1, and it has a really special place in my heart. But Diablo 2 is definitely superior. So I would pick Diablo 2 as my number 7.
Okay. How about you, Mike?
All right, so my number 7 is the only game I've played in that franchise. that says a lot about it. My number 7 is Super Metroid.
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay. Very good.
I have it on my list. It's higher up, but I have it on my list. That's wow.
Then we'll dwell on it when it gets to your turn then. But that's my number 7, so we can go skip to number 6.
Well, this is the funny part, because my number 7 is a game in that series as well, Metroid Fusion.
Fusion, wow, really? I like Metroid Fusion.
Okay, like Metroid, like I've played all the Metroids, all of them.
Yep.
Except like the 3D ones, like all the side scroller ones.
Prime.
Yep.
Yeah, like I haven't played the Prime series, but I've played all the other ones. I have a bit of a soft spot for Metroidvania games.
Yeah, they're like I have them on my list. Like those are my games. Like if there's a Metroidvania, like I'll play them. Like Ori, like one recently came out. Like there was a Blood Stain or something like that. I've played all of them. This is like my genre.
So for me, Metroid Fusion is my top one because it can scare the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Like Super Metroid it was amazing, it was a game changer, like everything was just new. It wasn't like the old Metroid. It was still familiar enough, but you had collectibles, you have save points. It made it more accessible to a lot of gamers. But Metroid Fusion was just, it scared the hell out of you because here you are, you just finished a mission, you're coming back, you get infected with the X parasite, which is a parasite that comes from the Metroid homeworld, which basically the only reason it wasn't taking over the planet was because the Metroids, like the actual Metroids, would eat it. It was their natural predator. And you killed all the Metroid. Ha ha! So you take like it infects you, and to get it off of you, they have to rip your suit off. They have to rip Samus's suit off, and it becomes unusable, and she can't link to it anymore. So they give her like this other suit, and they give her a vaccine made from the Metroid, from the baby Metroid you rescue in Super Metroid. And you suddenly become, it's the predator for the X parasite, and the X parasite takes over your suit because the X parasite is a mimic, and it mimics everything, and it mimics you with all your powers. So there's points in the game where you hear the footsteps of the X Samus looking for you.
I get goosebumps. Like you reminded me of like that game. I get goosebumps. Like when you had to hide because you would see it walk past because you were still not strong enough to fight it. Oh, that was an awesome game. Yep, I love Metroid games.
Exactly, like that's the main reason. Super Metroid was amazing. Metroid Zero was awesome, but this one just, it had that tension because you were like, if it saw you, it would kill you, like straight up. And even when you became stronger, it was still pretty much the end game boss. But oh my god! And then the story, the plot twist, everything about that game was just awesome.
Yeah. So for me, Super Metroid is the next one on my list, so I can just talk a bit about it now. So I played all the Metroids.
Number 6.
So let's just go straight to number 6, and you just go straight to Super Metroid.
So Super Metroid, I loved. It's one of those games I 100%. I saw every ending. I would challenge friends, so we would call each other. Let's start. Let's see who finishes first, because we wanted the less than 2-hour completion ending, and we would race to the end. I've played this game like way too many times, beginning to end. I would feel nostalgia, and I would just like get how to play it. I've played it in every medium. I've like played it in emulators. I love this game. Just like the feeling of like, it was the first time, I think it was the first time that you would have this map that will light up as you explored it. And that map to me is what created the genre for the Metroidvania.
Yep.
Right?
Also,
after this came like the Symphony of the Nights, the Metroid Fusions, and modern day games like Ori. That's like a whole genre its own, and I think Super Metroid was the one that created it.
Yeah, I was
Cool.
impressed by how the whole game was just one map. One
Yes.
gigantic map, but you wanted to explore it all. You wanted to see everything light up. You felt
And
if a pixel was
that's the magic.
yeah, you felt like if a pixel was dead, you didn't play the game right.
That's the point. That's the beauty of it. You wanted every little corner. Like I remember every game of these that I've played, I would figure out how to touch a corner that has no benefit, but it would give me that 0.0001% completion. You know, like it's just that like and you would get to areas where you need now like super missiles and you don't have super missiles, so let's find the super missiles. Or this is water deals damage to you, you need something to enter the water, and you would have to go back to places that you already explored once you found the new suit that will let you go into water, or the new bomb that could open this door, or this bomb that could open this tube that would open a whole new world for you to explore. And that back and forth on the same huge map that you just keep on seeing and like light up as you explore it, that just captivated me. I played like every Metroid, every Castlevania, everything that is defined as a Metroidvania is like top tier for me.
On that note, my number 6 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
That's much higher, but yeah.
That's the other half of the Metroidvania part. I like the Castlevania games. I played the first one. I played Simon's Quest, Simon's Quest. But Symphony of the Night was just over the top. I can play that game over and over and over again. I know I've memorized where most everything is. And it was one of those games, like you said, is as you explore the map, you get new things. And if you don't explore every single nook and cranny, you're really not going to get the best ending, and you're not going to get the continuation of the game. Because when you thought, I finished the game, I killed the bad guy. Nope. Wrong. Fake news.
Wrong.
Exactly. And then when you actually like explored everything and you found the one item you needed, it's like, oh hey, remember the castle you just went through? Here it is again, upside down, with creatures that'll look at you and kill you. Have fun.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I maybe 3 years or 4 years ago, I saw it on the Xbox store, and I bought it and I finished it again 200% for like both castles. It's like something was good when it creates its own genre. Like the Castlevanias were totally different. Castlevania 1 through 4, they were these side scrollers, kind of platformers. Castlevania 4 was really good. I remember playing Castlevania 4, I loved it. But when Symphony of the Night came in, everything changed. Like all the Game Boy Advance versions of the Castlevanias were amazing. I remember playing Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance. Aria of Sorrow was a masterpiece. But Castlevania Symphony of the Night is just one of like my favorite games of all time. And I'll just say it's way up in my list. To me, it's like number 4. So we just touched base on it. But I have it as 4 in my list.
What about you, Mike? What's your number 6?
So my number 6 will have a one-liner since we've already talked about it. But here's where I put the Pokemon franchise, specifically Gold and Silver. Because Gold and Silver is the only game where they truly play on nostalgia well. Which is, spoiler, if you haven't played this 20-year-old game, it's the same Pokemon League as the series in Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Green. But you get to go back to Kanto and beat the crap out of the gym leaders there. So that is extremely nostalgic, and you see what happened to them, what happened to their story, and whatnot.
And you still interrupt Misty.
So
like Misty can't get a break.
I think Pokemon Gold Silver. So that we've talked about Pokemon a lot. So I think we can just skip to the next one.
Okay, so number 5. We're halfway there.
Okay.
So my number 5 is my only it was hard to come up with this one, but it's Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Wow, really?
Ooh,
That's interesting.
that is
I
way
love-
high in my list.
Yeah, no, I love this game. I really do. It's the Zelda game, and I've played a lot. I've played almost all of the older ones, the Game Boy ones, but A Link to the Past was just amazing. It was my first venture into Zelda on the Super Nintendo. The story was actually like a story, because as much as I like the first Zelda, story-wise, it's it's like, hey, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, go.
Yep.
But A Link to the Past, it was just amazing. It had everything, like secrets, items, 2 different worlds. I like, to this day, I still remember going into the Dark World, and the first thing out of my mouth is, "Why am I a bunny?
Yeah.
Why am I a bunny? Why can't I attack anything? Why is everything hurting me? Ah, damn it! How do I get out of here?"
You should play A Link Between Worlds if you haven't. It's a great sequel to that game.
I've heard it's really good. I've just, like, I don't know, it got to a point where I just stopped playing the Zelda games.
In my opinion,
yeah.
A Link Between Worlds is the best music I've ever heard in a Zelda game.
Okay.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like this
So-
game, it'll always be will always be my favorite Zelda, and I've played Majora's. I've played, this is still always my favorite Zelda.
It's funny because my 5 is the Zelda franchise, but A Link to the Past is not. It may not even my top 3. Like, to me, it's Ocarina of Time, life-changing experience, and then it's Link's Awakening. I love that they made a remade. They remade Link's Awakening because it was my favorite of, like, the top-down view. It's my favorite one. But Ocarina of Time is just life-changing. Like, to me, that was a different experience. It was a thing on its own. And I don't like when they fully overhaul, like, a game from, like, this is a top-down exploring game and now it's 3D. I normally don't like that. There's a few games that did it really well, like Final 7 did it really well. And even, like, when they changed the Castlevania, it wasn't that big of a change, but to, like, Symphony of the Night, it did it really well. But to me, Ocarina of Time is just, like, the best Zelda ever. It was an experience on its own.
I think I didn't put Ocarina of Time because I was late to the hype, actually. I didn't get to experience it at the same time everybody else did. So that kind of breaks that game-changing thing for me, because when I finally got to experience it, it was way after everybody else did.
Yeah. It was the time. When Ocarina of Time came out, it was just, Mario 64 was around. Like, it was this jump to 3D. And maybe the original 3D games don't age very well. But when you played it for the first time, it was just, like, life-changing. Like, what is this? This is, we went from pixels to polygons. Like, what is happening? But that Ocarina of Time was just, like, to me, like, one of those life-changing games. It's like, okay, this is the way they should have gone. It's amazing. The story was amazing. The exploration, the graphics, everything for its time. It was just, like, a ridiculously amazing game.
Okay, Mike, what's your number 5?
So my number 5 is, incidentally, Dragon Quest V. They have a 5 on it.
Oh, there you go.
So I don't want to spoil too much, but in my opinion, Dragon Quest V is the best game in that franchise. The franchise has always been and true to the turn-based game, and that experience will never fade away in a Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest will always have this humorous feel to it, but at the same time a very dark storyline. And I think Dragon Quest V is their best told game for many reasons. You start as a kid and you grow up with that character literally throughout the game. You end up as a man at the very end of that game, and this game has it all. You have important characters being killed, unfortunately. You touch the concept of slavery, and the game has a very iconic moment that I'm so sad that it hasn't gone to mainstream, but I call it the choice. And I don't want to dwell too much because I really don't want to spoil it. But once you get to the choice, and I don't have to explain it, because once you get to the choice, you will realize that you are now in the choice. And if you play that game and make a comment, please tell me what choice you made, and the game will definitely, I'll have to edit this out, but it's the only way to describe it. If you make a particular choice, the game makes you feel like a piece of shit afterwards.
Oh, wow.
But
quick question,
it's so life-changing that he swore.
So how did they handle like the time skips? Like how was that managed? Like I haven't played the game, but I think it's interesting that you actually progress through your life in a game.
Usually the game does time skips when there's a major event to the plot. Like something either really bad happens, or it's usually like something horribly bad happens, and then there's the time skip.
Oh wow.
It's
the only game
comparable
I played
to
like that.
Final Six, that, you know, where something really bad happens and then there's a time skip. Yeah. That's exactly how they do it in Dragon Quest V. Not the same story, obviously, but that's kind of the way they do it.
That's really fascinating. And like if you progress into your life in an old school RPG, that's pretty cool. I remember there was this game in like Super Nintendo, Lufia. I don't know if you guys played it. That you played part of the story. And then the second game was, I think, the prequel. I know it was like a full story, but you would see like the repercussions of one of them in the next one. And it was like that. It was, you know, you would play the same family. Like I think you play the parents first, and then you would play the kid, or the other way around. But it took 2 games. It wasn't in the same game that you would see the full like.
Well, ironically, the game is the shortest of them all, which is, I think, it's its only flaw, in my opinion. They could have done so much more with it, but I think it's the best story told in Dragon Quest. It's technically standalone, so you don't have to play 4 or 6. They supposedly all are the same world, but they're so distant in timelines. You know, not in timelines, but like literally thousands and thousands of years later, that they really not. Their stories are not really continuous at all.
That's cool.
So you can play the game independently of the 4 and 6.
See, I've only ever played one Dragon Quest / Dragon Warrior game, and that was 8 on PlayStation 2. I played the heck out of that game. I got all the items and everything, and I loved it. But I've always heard that all the games have these amazing stories. I have a friend of mine that's literally playing all the games based on the story. So not in chronological order, but in the order for the games themselves. And yeah, he's hyped about it. And when he tells me all the different things, I'm like, damn, these games are amazing.
Dragon Quest is like, even the worst Dragon Quest game is a great game. It will be your run-of-the-mill turn-based game, but it's not going to be a horrible one. Every single Dragon Quest is amazing. I just happen to feel that 5 is the best. I think 8.
I think it was 3.
Close.
Like, and Mike, your memory is pretty good. So I remember I played one that there was a mirror, that you had to get a mirror to one of the characters. Or something like that. I think it was 3.
It's
so
that mirror
one is the only one I played.
Is the Mirror of Ra, and it continued to appear in other Final Fantasy games. I mean, sorry, Dragon Quest. And it still.
So that's the only one I played.
Keeps the same concept of it reveals the truth out of something that's fake. So the Mirror of Ra probably, I think it might have made its debut in 2, but continued to be a staple in that franchise.
Okay, so maybe I played 2. I only played one of the really old ones. So
to me, Dragon Quest in terms of how good they are is 5 is the best, followed by 8 and 3. But 3 is only extremely awesome if you've played 1 and 2. If you play 3 by itself, it won't have the same effect.
Okay.
So that's my number 5. Continue. Well, folks, this episode ended up being longer than we anticipated. Therefore, we're going to have to cut this short and continue our top 10 list starting from number 4 on our next episode. You can find us on social media, on Twitter as @Geeks and Gripes, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook. We are Geeks and Gripes, YouTube as well. Don't miss out on being able to watch the sidecast between Dex and Ari. Thank you for following us until this point. If you made it to this point, we really appreciate it and hope that you continue, supporting us and hopefully sponsoring us at the same time. Anyways, we look forward to continuing our top 10 discussion on our 9th episode of the Geeks and Gripes podcast. Thank you, and signing out. Sad.